Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our UserXpress lunchtime webinar. My name is Laura Newland, and I'm the Operations Manager here at 1905. This is the second of our 5 sessions this week. Our goal is that by the end of the week, you'll have a complete understanding of the main functionality of UserXpress and understand how it's such a time-saving tool for SAP security teams. Today, we are going to be showing you navigation, searching users, simple queries, complex queries, and how to export them to Excel. I'm going to turn you over to Dara Noctor, our founder, who's going to be taking you through today's session.
Fantastic.
Dara?
Thank you, Laura. Thanks very much. What I'd like to do just before starting in on this straight away, I'd just like to do a quick recap on what we spoke about yesterday. So yesterday, what we went over, what we covered was the install of UserXpress. And we kind of discussed that the only prerequisite for the application is having the SAP GUI installed. So once you have the SAP GUI installed, this application is ready to go. We talked about the file itself. It's only 50 megabytes in size. And within 2 minutes of installing, you can be up and running and managing your users across different systems and clients. Having spoken about the communications model yesterday as well, we explained that you only need to use the same credentials to log on to UserXpress that you would use with SAP GUI. So there's nothing else required there. We also spoke about how there was no transports, no changes or repairs required on any of the SAP systems. So again, the application is plug and play. The application uses an SAP-provided identity management API. So we're basically using the same interfaces, the same RC modules, the same BAPIs as other identity management providers are also using. But what we've also included in the application is we've made UserXpress CUA aware as well. We mentioned that yesterday. So when the application logs on, it'll detect if CUA is activated. And if it is, it'll download the CUA landscape and create an internal mapping within the application. So if you try to create or change any users that are under CUA control, it'll warn you and say, no, you can't change the password on this user because it's under CUA control. If you make any changes to any users in the CUA master client, then any changes that you make there through this application will also be propagated down to the satellite systems as well. So that's a really good feature that we have built in there if you have CUA installed. The other thing we pointed out yesterday as well is that any changes that you make to any users using this application, all changes are recorded on the client within which the change is made. So again, we're using SAP's own API that also records any changes in their change management system. So again, it's as if you are logging on to a client, going in to transaction SU01 and making the change there with a particular user. And those changes are recorded, and this application will also make those changes there. Also within the application we have here is we have what we call an activity history. And what that does is it records for the session the changes that you've made, so you can review those changes. Now, we are making changes to the application whereby those changes will be more persistent over time. So you'll have an entire history of any changes that you've made with the application itself. And also we talked about the auto start as well. So instead of having to log on to each system, each client, each time you start the application, what you can do is you can choose to store the credentials of a particular system. And those credentials are encrypted and stored at the OS level in a private folder. So the next time you start the application, it will automatically start those systems for you. So you don't need to enter in your user ID and password and client each time that you use the application. That's a great time-saving feature there. And finally, we discussed just towards the end of yesterday's webinar, we showed how we can filter users and select users and then choose an action for a particular user, like say for resetting a password or unlocking the user. Now we're going to go into more of those details tomorrow. We're going to go really good detail there. But today, what we're going to talk about is just the navigation around the UserXpress interface. So that's where we're going to take it from here. So what we have here is we've got three main windows. So what we have here is the global user table. So this is where we draw in all the users from all the clients and all the systems and have them in just one screen from which you can access them very easily. Down here we have what we call the global role table. So this is similar to the global user table, but it's for all roles. So again, it retrieves all roles from all the clients and all the systems here. So what we can do is we can drag roles and drop them onto users here, or we can just select the roles and click assign, and that will give us the same measure. And then we have the control panel here that we talked about yesterday, and this is where we add connections to the application, and we can persist credentials. So again, we can take advantage of the auto start mechanism. So each time the application starts, it will automatically start those connections as well. So we just take a look here at our main window here, the global role table. Up here, what we have is all the various actions at our disposal. So we can set productive password, an initial password, lock, unlock. And what we do is from release to release is we actually add on to this. So over a period of time, you get more and more functionality here. So there's less dependency on, I suppose, going into SU01 for a particular client. You know, if you have to access one particular user, you know, across maybe 10 clients, you know, that's logging onto your client 10 times. Whereas this, you can have all those users in front of you without any complexity involved at all. If we take a look here, where is it? Assign, there's more functions here. So we can assign an alias or an email reference user. And we'll go into more of these tomorrow as well in greater detail, but today we're just going to focus on filtering users. And down here is a very useful button. So this will tell us here how many users that we have in the view at the moment. So here we have close to 18,000 users. And down here on the global role table, you can see we have just over 46,000 roles there as well. So here we can, as mentioned earlier, we can drag and drop and interact with the windows amongst themselves. So we can also take a look here at the amount of users that we've selected. So if we select users here, we can see that number change here as well, or the view count. And this becomes, I suppose, a bit more important as we, I suppose, filter our users. So let's take a look here what we can do. So just to mention also that these columns up here are, I suppose, they're not the only columns that are available. So if we take a look here, let's take a look. We have a column chooser down here. So what we can do is, I know it's kind of grayed out, but we can still make it out here. So we can drag and drop columns here onto the global user table, you know, as much as we need. Or if we want to get rid, you know, if we just want to hide them, what we can do is we can just drag them off until you see X. Yeah. So it's just very easy. So it just stops you can really personalize the look of the global user table, because if you have all your columns in together, it can get a bit crowded as well. But what we can also do is we can very easily just change how we want to have this look. And we can just move columns here as well. So we can really customize it to how we want it to look. Again, on exiting the application, it will save this layout. So your kind of preferences persist across the application starts. Now what we can do here is we can also group group users as well. So we can very easily see how users can be, we can see how they're grouped across various systems. Now, I suppose the exciting part here is look to see, well, how can we search for users? Well, we showed yesterday very briefly. By simply typing in a user ID, it'll automatically go through all those 17,000 users that we had on display, and it'll display them here. So we can see here excuse me. Excuse me. What we have here is a view count of 14. So this user Barnes underscore T has 14 IDs across these systems here and these many clients as well. Now, we don't just have to search on user ID. A common problem that's I suppose more prevalent is user IDs. You can have different user IDs across different systems. So you need to be able to search across different criteria. So in an example here, what we can do is we can also search by email address. So we take a look at Tom Burns here. We can see that Tom has other IDs that don't conform to the standard that we've seen earlier. Okay, so we can lock out those users. We can copy that user to another user, Barnes underscore T. So there's just different ways that we can search for users. But also what we can do is we can combine values from different columns to build up very complex queries. So for instance, if I wanted to get a list of users in a particular client that didn't have an SAP license assigned to them, we can do that very easily. So for instance, if we want to search the system DM1 client 100, and we'll look for all dialog users. We can select dialog and notice how the view count changes. And then we want to look for users without licenses assigned. We can see it there. So we can see that we have 1,400 users, or sorry, 1,100 users, so 1,100 users without any license assigned. And what we can also do is, for reporting purposes, we can also export that to Excel. So we can just fill it in. And if we just take a very quick look here. And here. So again, it's just very easy for reporting as well. So we can combine any number of columns across to build up as many queries as we want. But what we can also do is we can also save those queries. So I can save this query here. So DM1 client 100. I call it blank licenses. And if we display all these users again here, back to 17,000 users we can see here. I can look at my query. And we can see we're back down to 1,400. So this is something that we can keep going back to, that we can keep building up as many queries as we want. But the application also comes with what we called canned queries. So for instance, if I wanted to see all users that haven't logged in the last 30 days, I can just click this button here. And we can see in this case there's 245 users. Or indeed, if I want to see users that have never logged in, so I can get a list of users here, and I can also export this to Excel. And maybe I can select the users here if I wish. And what I can do then is I could probably lock the users, or I could maybe deactivate the passwords, and then export to Excel, open for reporting, so we can discuss whether or not these user IDs should be removed from the system or not. We can also look at is expired users, or indeed we can look at deactivated users. And what we can also do is we can take this canned query and we can add to it. We click on Edit Filter. What we can do is we can add in a field. So we look at the system here. We can say if it equals to system DM1 CLNT 100. Then we can click Apply, and we can see the name change there. So we get back down to 26. So what we're seeing here is a very simple way to explore what users we have across the system according to different criteria. And then once we have those queries, once we have those users, what we can do is we can save them. So I just put down deactivated users. Oops. And this is something I can keep coming back to again. So once I have my users selected, what I can do is I can highlight the users, and then from here I can choose various actions. So the idea is to filter the users and then select my users and then act on those users. So I think in summary, we've seen today that the utility provides a fantastic and detailed way of editing users and filtering users. And again, it presents to us users by different criteria that we can then act upon. And that's the important thing to remember, that we can lock the users and we can copy the users, deactivate them. So for today, that's it. And tomorrow, then we'll talk about the actual actions that we can take, closing out users when they've left the company, deactivating passwords, that kind of thing. So I just want to say thanks very much indeed.
Thank you, Dara. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Now that you've seen how easy it is to navigate around UserXpress and how quick and simple it is to run those real-time reports, whether they're simple or complex, if you haven't already, if you'd like, you can download our 30-day trial from our website, install it on your PC. We showed how to do that yesterday. And you can try some of these features that we showed you today. The trial is a fully functioning version of UserXpress, and it comes with full technical support. As Dara said, tomorrow we're going to show you some of our favorite features, role assignment, parameter assignment, deactivating users, and a lot more. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.